Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd. So it's my friends over at yarnspirations.com. Today is the final for the Boho ornamental Afghan. So what we're going to be doing today is that we're going to do your final round like so, and then what we're going to do is the first one will be complete like this, and then the rest of them will join as you go so that they start puzzling together. Before I begin, you're going to need a 6mm size J crochet hook for this particular size. As we do it, it's smaller than what we have been using. I found that it was better to reduce your hook for this joining to make it a little more snug, and it actually sits down more properly as well. So let's go through what we're gonna be doing today, and let's begin. So figuring out how these puzzled together actually took me quite a bit of time to do it, and then I just had to make sure that everything sat down properly. So what I'd recommend is that we start off in the beginning like so, and then we're gonna work our way across, and we're going to join just on the tips of each one of these. So as you do the first one, you have to do that one complete, and then the next one we join to this piece over here, and then we continue around and so on, and we do all 5. So we're going to work our way what is called as rows. So Daniel helped me actually describe this even better. So it's got row 1 and then row 2. So row 2 kind of goes in like a nesting area like so, and it just settles in between 2 pieces. Then what we have is that we have row number 3. Row number 3 is also gonna nest, but you also have a section out here. So this is called the first motif of row 3, and this is the last motif of row 3. And row 3, basically every other one like so is the same all the way down, and then the ones in the middle is the same as you see. So what we're going to do today is that I'm gonna take you through each section of the joining, and it's actually really quite easy to be able to do it. If you go strategically from one side to another and start building it, then it becomes really quite straightforward, I hope. Let's go back to the instructions because there's a lot of writing there and I want to decipher it for you. So Daniel and I worked together to be able to create this whole diagram idea, and he really came up with some ingenious ideas as well to be able to present this to you. Originally this was gonna be several pages and it was gonna be really too complex. So we're gonna start with our first master motif, and we're gonna go all the way around creating the spaces that we need. We're then going to jump to the second part where you go alongside of it, and then we're going to join these 2 pieces together right here, and you'll do 5 of those all the way down. You're then going to move up to the next row, and you're going to join into these, and the arrows are pointing where things need to go, and then you continue along to the other side. So then you end up going down to row number 3, and row number 3 sticks out at the end, so you're just coming around and then you start joining it in certain sections, and then also joining it across. So what I have done to make it easier for myself during the designing is that I labeled each one of the spaces from 1 to 10. So it's 1 going to 10, and then 1 going to 10. So you notice that there's 2 10s. That's intentional. So the ones are the same for both sides. So whether you're going 1 to 10 on this side or 1 to 10 on this side, it's identical. So if you can understand that there's a number to the spaces, it actually makes it a lot easier when you're going to puzzle your stuff together, because this is what that means. So this number 1 space, for example, when you do 10, you're gonna reach over and just attach it to this 10, and then this 10 goes through this loop and into that 10, so it holds everything stable, and then 9 to 2, 8 to 3, and etc. So as you chain, you slip stitch over and then chain, and then just single crochet back into the motif. I found with myself it took me 3.5 hours to do this entire joining process of the whole Afghan, so I found it didn't really take too much time. I was really quite happy about that, to be honest with you. And then what we're going to do is that you see that there's a final border. It's just 1 round, and we're also going to cover that today in today's tutorial. So what we also have is we have the written instructions. We wrote it to the best of our ability. You may find anything. If you find anything, just let us know in the comments and we'll try to adjust. And it took me like, you have no idea how long it took me to write this, because it's really a lot of words for really something that's kind of simple when you see it in such a diagram like this. So you're gonna get all the way to the end, and then we just have 1 border round to go all the way around, and then that's it. So let's begin. We're gonna start off with the first motif, which we have called as the master. So you need to create 1 motif completely with all of its borders before you can continue to the rest of the joining. So let's grab 1 motif and let's begin. So we're gonna begin with the master motif. This is on the first one, and we're gonna go all the way around completely without joining to anything because it has to be done first. And then once we start with the next motifs, we start then joining as things get done. So we're gonna start with the first one and work our way down. So if you look at the overview of this whole project, is that you can see that you have 5 in a row that go around. So we're gonna do all of this here, but I'm just gonna show you how it's joining once, because once you understand it, you just follow it across. Also, what I did is that I laid these on the floor in the order that I thought they would be awesome. So I just kind of puzzled it all together. So these are completely random, so that there's no rhyme or reason to the coloring. It was just completely random, and it looks amazing when it's done. So let's begin. Master motif. We're gonna do the final row for number 10. So I recommend that you turn your motif up and you create a slip knot to begin. And you were gonna go into the chain 2 space, and I would do that special joining. So just pull it through, and you have 2 loops, pull through 2, and then that's your first single crochet, and I want you to chain 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Coming back into the same spot, I want you to single crochet, and now we're gonna work our way around. So this is what's gonna happen when it's on an edge. The only difference is if you're attaching it to a neighbor in the future, it'll be chain 3, slip stitch, chain 3 back, and then single crochet back in. So to move around the rest of this edging, you're going to just chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, and go into the next space that's available to you. Just like that, and then chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, and into the next space, and you're gonna do that all the way to the other side right here, and I'll see you there in just a moment. So chain 3 and single crochet in the next space. So I'm coming up to the final peak, and I'm gonna chain 3 and then come into the final peak, and you're going to chain 6. So single crochet first, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and coming back into the same space, single crochet, and then carry on. So just keep turning and chain 3 and go into your next space. Okay, it's right there, and then chain 3 and so on. I'll see you at the end of this rotation. This is the master motif. I'm coming all the way around to back to where I started, and then this is, you gotta join it over here, but you gotta chain 3 first. So 1, 2, 3, and then just join to the beginning single crochet, and you're done. I highly recommend that you use your tapestry needle and get rid of your loose ends immediately instead of waiting towards the end of the project. So let's grab our scissors here somewhere, and just cut your strand long enough that you can just get that onto a tapestry needle. So just pulling it through. You really will have, like if you're doing the size I want, like there's 50 to 52 motifs. You can do smaller or bigger if you want to, but if you just get rid of your loose ends right now, they'll be easier to deal with this at the end of the project instead of working through it at the end. So just go back and forth the total of 3 times, and it will be out of your hair and out of your space, and you're good. So that was the master motif. It's completely done by itself. Let me back out the camera here, and so this is what it will look like. And now we're going to start our second motif, and the only difference between the second motif and this motif is that when we go to start, we're going to join it to this piece here. So we're just gonna put it aside and then start, and then join it immediately here, and then go all the way around. Let's do second motif, first row. So let's begin the second motif. So the rest of the motifs along the first row is gonna be exactly the same. So we're gonna start up, and we're going to join, and we're going to chain 3, slip stitch to this chain 6 space, and then chain 3, and then come back in, and then continue all the way around as normal. So the only place that you're gonna join it is immediately right here. We decided to actually have you join it immediately because it gets it out of the way, and then you can have a better experience. Let's begin to do second motif, first row. So let's do the second motif of the first row. So the rest of the motifs in the first row will be exactly the same kind of join. Start it up and then go into the chain 2 space, which is the very edge of your motif. So let's just join it the special way. So just looping it, pulling it through. You have 2 loops, pull through. That's your first single crochet. So we immediately want to join it to the first one here. So we're gonna chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, and slipping up underneath the chain 6 space of the other one. So go up underneath, make sure you're always grabbing them underneath so it's consistent. Pull through, and that's a slip stitch. And now chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, and come back to the space that you started, and single crochet. Now I'm not gonna drag you all the way around for the remaining of this, because the fact is that you just did it when I showed you this. So chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, go to the next space, and single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, next space. When you get all the way to the other side, the point is exactly what you already know. You're gonna single crochet, chain 6, single crochet back in, and then continue around. I'll see you at the end of this rotation. This is second motif, which is the remaining motifs for all of row number 1, and how you join, and you will notice that they'll all be joined at the tip. So when you go to do the next one, you'll join the next one to this point over here, so that you have a straight row of 5 in a row, depending on the size that you want to do, of course. I'll see you at the end of this rotation. So just finishing up the second motif for round number 1, you're gonna chain 3 and then just join it to the beginning single crochet. I want you to weave in your ends like I just showed you with the first one. I'm not gonna show you that procedure again because I don't need to, because I did already. So just weave in your ends here and then meet me here. We're going to move down to the second row and explain how that's done next. We're now going to move down to the second row. So you're gonna do all of your 5 on the top. Now the second row just nests in between. So you're gonna have this one that jets out, the master, and you're going to start immediately here. And what I want you to notice is that the ones here never attach to a side piece. You see that? So this one over here, they attach to each other, but because there's nothing here, there's nothing to attach to. So what I want you to do is that we're gonna start off, and then we're going to start immediately just joining from the second gap, which is the next one, to the 9th gap here. Number 10s on both sides never attach to each other when it comes to this. They only attach when they're directly across. What I want you to pay attention to is that you're going to notice that there's consistency here. So because this is the second row and there's no motif up here, what's gonna happen is that you're going to loop around these chain 6 spaces when you go to do this. However, when you are down here and you have this motif, the only difference between this one and this one is that you loop across into number 10s and then back. Okay, so that's the only difference between this one here and this one. Then what's gonna happen in the third row, we're gonna jet back out, we're gonna start as normal, and then we're going to join straight across. So let's begin the second row, and we're going to start here and then begin joining as we go. Let's do the second row, the first motif. So before we begin, sometimes it's easier just to mark the stitches. Kind of what I did when I first started it, but once you get used to it, it's pretty good. So you know that the joining here is number 1. So the next space is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So the 9th one here is where we're going to play first. So when we go to attach the next one that's right here, this is the first join that's gonna happen for that one. Right there. So then you have 10, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and then 1. So if that makes any sense. So these two here we're going to play together in the future when we attach the next motif that will be here straight directly across. So let's now begin the second row. So we know where this one is here, and we're going to be able to easily figure it out here as we're crocheting the next sample. Let's begin the second row. So let's begin the second row. We're going to start off immediately with a join right in the peak. So let's just join it the special way that I showed you. So just scoop it. You got 2 loops. Just pull through there. That's your first single crochet and chain 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So what would be the difference if this was not the first motif but it was actually the second one over here? You would chain 3, slip stitch to the next one, which would be back over here, and then chain 3 and then come back into the motif. So only it's chaining 6 directly when there's nothing to attach to. So hopefully that makes sense for you. So you're gonna come back into the same one. So we're going to immediately start joining, and I already marked my stitch where I want it to go. So I'm gonna chain 1 and scoop under that same space. That was the 9th space if you remember. I'm gonna get rid of my stitch marker. Scoop it for a slip stitch, chain 1, and then immediately come into the next space on the one that we're working on. So chain 1, okay, and go to the next space and slip stitch it, chain 1, and then come back. And you keep doing that all the way across. So chain 1, slip stitch, chain 1, and single crochet back in. So you're gonna notice it's gonna start puzzling together. And eventually you'll run out of spaces on this first motif that you're joining to. and when you run out, then you know you're on the 10s and 10s in the middle of the motif that you're trying to attach with this one. Okay, so I'm slip stitching. So this here is the last space before the edge, before the ending one. So just chain 1 and come back in. So there should only be 9 gapping spaces at this point. I haven't been counting, so I want to prove it. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, and we have the 10th one here. So we have 1 2 3 4. So now we have it joined, and the next 2 are actually the middle spacing that is going to attach into this chain of 6 area here. If there was another motif sitting above here like it shows, you will go directly to the chain to the gapping of 10 spaces on this one here. But because there's nothing there, because it's the first time you're going across, you're going to go around that space. So how do we know that we're actually in the right gapping space? You can count it. So this is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 and 9. So 10 and 10 are left empty so far. So what you're going to do when you're joining it and there's nothing else up here, you're going to chain 1, go around the first chain 6 space from underneath, slip stitch it, chain 1 and come back in. So that was number 10, and we're gonna do it again another 10. So chain up 1, going into the other side, okay, from underneath, chain 1 and come back. And so now your 2 middle chain 2 middle gapping 10s are now taken up. So now you're going to continue then down here, adjoining it to over here. You should actually work it out. So I'm gonna put a stitch marker just to prove it, but I wouldn't do it if it were me. So it's just we have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 and 9. So this 9th one is exactly where we're going to stop. You will be able to notice when you're ready to stop anyway, but I want to just put it there just to prove it. So let's continue. We're going to chain up 1, and then we're going to come into the next space that's available to you. This is the 2nd space. Chain 1, slip stitch back in and keep on joining. So chain 1, slip to the next one, chain 1, coming back in, chain 1, slip, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1, slip, so I'm not counting, as you noticed. I'm just letting I am confident in the number of stitch gaps that I have because I've been diligent in counting throughout the whole project. Okay, so this is my last gapping space on this side, so I must be very close to done. So I'm gonna chain up 1, slip, look, it's the 9th one, chain 1, and then I come into the outside to the last one, number 1. I continue now. I don't have any more joining to do, and I'm just gonna continue as I know it. So you're gonna chain 6. So 1 2 3 4 5 6, back in, and I'm going to rotate around the remaining of this one here as I already know it. So I'm just going to just start chaining 3 and go into each space with a single crochet. So go around to the very beginning of this, and this is how you would complete this one. So you can see you've completed and joined on 2 sides, and we're gonna then continue from this point at the end. So I'll meet you at the end of this one. So I'm coming up to the final of the 2nd row. This is the first one, and I come to the first single crochet, and then I slip stitch it, and then I get rid of this end. So I've already shown you how to weave in your ends. Please do that. I'm going to review on how the remaining of row number 2 is done, because there's only one difference, and it's how you start, and let's begin to do that next. So as we go back to the main photo, so we're on row number 2. So you can see that these just snuggle in between these, and they stop just short. So the 2nd row basically is stopping in between. Then the 3rd row jets right back out again, and then in between, and jets and back. So what I want to show you now is, what if you have this one here? What is the difference between the first one that you laid in and the 2nd one? Well, the difference is that the very beginning changes. So what we have here is that you're gonna start off chain 3, slip stitch to this chain 6, chain 3 and come back, and then begin joining like you did here. So this here is a repeat of what you're doing, just coming all the way across like so, and then when you come back around on this side there's nothing to join to because it'll be the new section over here that you're going to go, and you're going to continue to do that all the way around. Then for row number 2 this is the same as what you see over here on how these things are done in between. The only difference that's left now is that the first motif and the last motif is slightly different because they come back out and jet back out as you see. So the first motif that you see jutting back out and the last motif that you see here. So you'll be repeating that each time. Let's begin to do this next section. So just to reiterate, if you're doing the next one here, you will have all these done. There will be 5 in the top. So the second row you will join to this first chain 6 space and then just continue to just join things as you go. So you're going to ignore these 2 middle chain 10s, okay, as you go to join, because you're gonna worry about this next one that will come straight across and then join into it, and then you just come along and then just work it all out just really quite easily. So let's begin to do this next section where we're gonna start with the edge first, as if it's the first row on number the 3rd row and beyond. So for the 3rd row, for the beginning, you're gonna have the first motif and we're gonna start off as normal, but on the 10s we're going to join directly to the master, to the one directly above. It could be another row, but directly above. The next one 10 is gonna go across and it's gonna go through this chain 6 loop and then attach and then back. Okay, this all that's gonna happen there, and we're gonna be concentrating on that next. So let's begin to do the first motif in the 3rd row. So let's get our first one prepared. We're gonna get our stitch marker out and let's count out. So we know the first end is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9, and here is the beginning of 10 and 10. So there's 2 10s in a row, as you know. So we're going to just mark the first one, and that'll help us just make sure that we keep an eye. These ones here that are the next ones in line are also 10 of the one that you're about to join. So this 10 is gonna go over to here. This 10 here is gonna go through this loop and join and then back. Let's begin. We're gonna start off on the tip like we had been before. So just coming in, and I can speed up a little bit. Now there's nothing to attach to because it's an end piece, so you're just going to attach, single crochet with that attachment, and then chain 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, coming back in, single crochet. So I'm going to do it as I normally would if it was a master or not attaching to anything. So just chain 3s and then coming into the next spaces. So I'm just gonna quieten up for a bit and get myself to the chain to the 10 spot so that I can start joining. So I want to verify my counts because I want to verify that this was right. I don't think it's right, so I want to verify that. So we know the edge is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then we have the last one. This is the so we have 9, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. So it is technically right. So you're going to chain up 1 and come into the first 10 that you have from underneath, slip stitch it, chain 1 and come back. Okay, so that's your first 10 in, chain 1, and I want you to scoop underneath the loop and into the 10 on the other side here and pull through. That attaches everything together, chain 1 and come back like so. So your 2 number 10s are just now been joined straight across, and you're also holding the chain 6, which then makes it look complete. You're then going to continue as you already know it, so chain up 1 and come into the next chain 1 space, or sorry, next chain space, and just slip stitch and chain 1 and keep on going as far as around as you can go. So you're going to stop when you get to the final point of this one over here. So I'm gonna quieten up for a bit and I'll see you there in a second. and then coming into the last space, chain 1, and then I come into immediately to the point. Now there's nothing else to attach to, so all you're just gonna do is chain your 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, and then coming back in, then you just move around as you know it. Okay, so that would be how you would attach if it was the first motif. So you can see that this is going to jet out, as you see. Let me back with the camera here, and this is going to jet out, and we're gonna fill it in a little bit with the border when we get to there. So this would be how you do the first one of the motifs. But what would happen is if you were doing the last one here, so let's just say for example this is the ending, so then you know, see how it jumps out here, it'll do the same thing on the other side. So let's take a look at the picture and show you. So in the last ones here, you see how these ones are left out. So what I want to do is I want to show you how that's done. So the rest of the remaining goes straight across. Now the only difference I told you, to make sure that it's very clear, the first time we did it we went around the chain 6 space, but these ones that nest in between, you're going directly across into the 10s when you go to do it and attach those together. That's the only difference of 10 here and there, is that you're going directly across. Here there's nothing to go to. Hopefully that's making sense. I'm a little worried that I'm not making any sense, but it wouldn't be my first rodeo on not making sense. So let me show you how to do the final one here of the ending, and I will be back in just a moment. So let's show you how to do the final one to attach. So let's just say for example that we were going to do the final. Okay, so then you have these hanging off the end of the bottom of your Afghan. So what you're going to do is that you're gonna start off immediately, and you're just gonna scoop it and make your single crochet. So these will already be in position, these ones here. So you're gonna chain 3 to attach. You're going to just scoop underneath, so a slip stitch, chain 3 to come back in there. Okay, so you're immediately because it's the thing, you're going to skip the 2 10s that you have here, and then you're going to start joining. So 1, and then just come into the 9s and attach. So I bet you're thinking, okay, well what if this was the other side before we had been going into around the chain 6 spaces, but in this case you didn't. The difference is that when you do the border, you're gonna go through this stuff and you're gonna hold it and pin it, and I do show you that when we get to the border. So you're just gonna work your way around. So the only difference between this row and others is that we want to join directly across. So it's kinda like it's nesting, but it's not. Lord, I don't even know if I'm making any sense. Okay, so we're gonna chain 1 and coming in. Look at the diagram if it helps you. Doing the attaching of this thing was probably the hardest thing word wise. I could visualize it, I could do it in no time, but once you understand how things puzzle, it's really quite simple. So explaining it is another thing. You notice that I'm not counting. I'm just using the spaces because I know the spaces are accurate for counting, because I've been very vigilant about it when I was crocheting these, and I did tell you to make sure that you do double counts and stuff. So you're just gonna come in. So the first time we're gonna come in, so this is gonna be the chain 10 space. So chain 1, go through this chain 6 loop from underneath, and then pick up the number 10 space on the other side. Slip stitch it, chain 1, come back. You're gonna do that again. So chain up 1, and this time go directly into the chain 10 or to the chain 10 space and come back. So just be vigilant that the first time you went through, you went around this chain 6 space. The second time there is no chain 6 space. It's like how we started on this side. The first time we went into the chain 10, the second time we went in through the chain 6 space to hold it. And then you just continue all the way around as you know it. Then on the edge, because there's nothing to attach to, it's just chaining 6, and then do your 3s then all the way around. So this would be how to attach all of this together. Again, if you had another one and you were puzzling in between, you would just scoop directly the chain 10 spaces into these chain 10 spaces here. And what I would do if I were you and you were me, let me just get some extra yarn. What I would do is that when you go to scoop up, I would scoop around these spaces like for your single crochet or for your slip stitching, I would go right around those spaces and chain one and then come back into this one here. So it kind of holds everything together and it makes everything look solid. So hopefully that makes sense for you. Just refer to the diagrams if you're going to. We're now going to go on with the border. The border is really quite simple, and I'm going to show you how you can just make sure things work when you get into these kind of pieces here and into the middle sections here, and of course the tops. Let's move along to the border next. So let's begin to do our border. We're going to start on the upper corner and work our way down and just zigzag our way all the way through. So what we want to do is we want to put these extended picots in, extended picots right at the bottom, and here what we're going to do is that we're going to jump. So do you see how they are attached here? We're going to jump from one side to another, and that will also fill it in to make it more solid. So without further ado, I'm going to show you this, and I'm going to get you started, and then I'm going to take you through to the areas that I think that you'll be stumped on, and you're going to go all the way around, and then that concludes today's project. To begin, you are just going to start off and you are going to do right in the top chain 6, and you can do the special join. It just is easier. So just pull through, you get your 2 loops, pull through 2. You're going to do your picot, so you're going to chain 3 and then sliding back into the 2 strands, just yarning over, pulling it through and through, and then single crochet back in. I need you to put in 3 of these picots into the top. So just slide it down and then do the next one. So you single crochet first, then picot. So chain 3 and then sliding in, pull through and through, and single crochet to finish. So each one of these picots consists of 2 single crochets with a picot that separates them. Come back into the same space again. So single crochet to begin, chain 3, and then coming in, yarning over through, and then single crochet. So now that you got your top peak done, you're going to slide. So each one of these spaces that you have, it's each going to get one of those picot situations. So you're gonna just go right to the next space, single crochet, chain 3. I don't know why I'm dropping stitches today. Just slide in, pull through and through, and then coming in. Okay, so then jump to the next one, single crochet, chain 3, and picot. So what I'm gonna do is that I want you to just, I'm gonna just fast forward the video now. So I'm going to get myself to this situation over here. Remember how we skipped over? So what we're going to do is that we're gonna come down right into this section here, go right up over top of that to bury that in. So I'll see you there in just a moment. For tutorial reasons, I'm just jumping to the spot. So I would have come across doing this, and as you get closer you're still going to do your picots, and I'm still dropping stitches, and then single crochet. So the next space is this monstrosity right here. I want you to come directly into this one right here. So go right in and then make sure that everything else gets buried so it comes together. Chain 3, picot, and then back in. So you're bringing everything together. Then come to the next one, just push them all together, single crochet, and then you did your picot, and then single crochet back in, and as soon as you get that done just move to your next one up here and then continue along. So the goal is basically to bury in where those 2 joined and then just get right into this section here. So that would be how you would do that. So next time I'm going to show you what's gonna happen that when you were in between a section, so at the very tops or the bottoms, and you're coming in between here, this is what I'm gonna show you next. So this type of situation is on the very bottom and the tops, so right where the peaks are at the very tops and or the bottoms. So what you're going to do when you get there, you would have come all the way across here and you're going to come right into this section. This is the last space on this side, and you were going to picot and finish it. Then you immediately jump to this next one right here and then picot that one, And what this is doing is that it's filling in an extra space once again to getting it to be a little bit higher and closer to the edge, just like you see. And then that fills that in, and then you continue then to move that up. Like so. So if you're using the same colors, it actually blends really quite well together, and it looks like everything belongs. I use different colors just so it's easier for you to see. So this would be how you would complete your border. So you just have to start off from the upper part and, you know, work your way down through, and then as you pass through, you're just going to come across, and then you just put those together. So this one, these ones here just get sandwiched together with the joins that you did. Then as you turn, you just fill in the spaces like I just showed you, the top of the peaks that you're going to put in your 3 picots, just like you see that we did at the very beginning of this, and this would be how you complete your border. So good luck, and this is it, and we hope to see your creativity really soon, and that's it for now. Have a great day, and we'll see you again real soon. Bye bye.